The first thing I noticed wasn't her voice. It was the silence around it. The mall was loud in the way only December can make it, children laughing, music looping the same cheerful carols, parents rushing with bags and lists and stress disguised as holiday spirit. But when she spoke, everything seemed to dim, like the world instinctively stepped back to listen. "Santa," she said softly, her small hands gripping the edge of my red sleeve. "I don't want to spend Christmas alone." I had heard thousands of wishes sitting in that velvet chair, requests for toys, puppies, new phones, even a few desperate pleas for parents to stop fighting. You learn to nod, to smile, to keep the magic alive without promising too much. But this one didn't sound like a wish. It sounded like truth. I swallowed, forcing a gentle smile beneath the thick white beard. "Santa has already noted it," I replied, my voice steady even as something tightened in my chest. She studied me for a moment, her big brown eyes searching, not for magic, but for certainty. "Kids can tell when you're pretending." "You promise?" she asked. And there it was, the question I wasn't supposed to answer honestly. I hesitated. Then I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "I promise I'll do everything I can." She nodded as if that was enough, then climbed down from my lap with quiet care. No excitement, no bouncing energy, just a small, polite thank you before she walked away. I watched her go, weaving through the crowd until she reached a bench near the food court. No parents, no siblings, just her. I'd been playing Santa for 5 years, long enough to know when something wasn't right. "Break time in 10, one of the coordinators called. I nodded absently, my eyes still fixed on the girl. When my shift paused, I didn't head for the staff room. Instead, I walked toward the food court. Still in full costume, ignoring the curious looks and the occasional laugh from passing shoppers, she was sitting exactly where I'd seen her, swinging her legs slightly, staring at nothing in particular. "Mind if Santa joins you?" I asked gently. She looked up, surprised, then nodded. Up close, she looked even smaller, maybe 7 or 8. Her coat was clean but worn, the kind that had seen too many winters. "What's your name?" I asked. "Lily." "That's a beautiful name." She gave a faint smile, then looked down at her hands. "Where's your family, Lily?" I asked carefully. She hesitated, then shrugged. "Busy." Something about the way she said it told me that wasn't the whole story. "Do they know you're here?" Another shrug. "I come here sometimes. Alone." The word hung in my mind, heavy and unsettling. "Do you like Christmas?" I asked, trying to keep the tone light. She shrugged again, but this time there was a flicker of something, sadness maybe. "I used to," she said quietly. "Used to?" That hit harder than anything else. I leaned back slightly, my mind racing. I wasn't supposed to get involved like this. There were rules, protocols, boundaries. But there was also a little girl sitting in front of me, asking Santa not to let her be alone on Christmas, and I had said I'd try. "Hey," I said softly, "how about we get some hot chocolate?" Her eyes lit up, just a little, but enough to matter. "Okay." We walked to one of the stands, and I ordered 2 cups. The cashier gave me a knowing smile, probably thinking this was part of the act. If only it were that simple. We sat together, sipping the warm drinks in comfortable silence. "So," I said after a moment, "what would make Christmas feel better this year?" She thought for a long time. "Just people," she said finally. "Talking, laughing, like on TV." I nodded slowly. "Not quiet," she added. Not quiet. That word again. "Lily," I said gently, "where do you live?" She pointed vaguely. "Not far." "Would you be okay if I walked you home?" She hesitated, studying me again with those searching eyes. Then she nodded. The walk was short, 10 minutes at most, but it told me everything I needed to know. The neighborhood wasn't unsafe, but it wasn't warm either. The kind of place where people kept to themselves, where doors stayed closed and lights stayed dim. We stopped in front of a small apartment building. "That's mine," she said. "Do you live with your parents?" "My mom," she said. "She works a lot." "Is she home?" Lily shook her head. "Late shift." Of course. I crouched down to her level, the weight of what I was about to do settling heavily on my shoulders. "Lily," I said, "would it be okay if Santa came back on Christmas Day?" Her eyes widened. "Really?" I smiled. "Really." "And maybe brought a few friends?" For the first time, her smile reached her eyes. I'd like that. I didn't sleep much that night. Instead, I made calls. First to my sister, who had a way of organizing chaos into something beautiful. Then to a few coworkers. Then to neighbors I barely knew. I told them about Lily, not every detail, but enough. Enough for them to understand. By the time Christmas Eve arrived, we had a plan. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't elaborate, but it was something. Christmas morning came cold and bright. I stood outside Lily's building, adjusting my Santa suit, my heart pounding in a way it hadn't in years. Behind me stood a small group of people, my sister, a couple of co-workers, even the coffee shop owner from down the street. Each of them carried something: food, decorations, small gifts, kindness wrapped in ordinary forms. Ready? My sister asked. I nodded. We climbed the stairs together and stopped at Lily's door. I knocked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door creaked open. Lily stood there, her eyes widening in disbelief. Santa? She whispered. I knelt down, smiling. Merry Christmas, Lily. She looked past me, taking in the small crowd, the smiles, the warmth. You came, she said. I told you I would. Her lip trembled, and for a second, I thought she might cry. Instead, she stepped aside. Come in, she said. The apartment was small and quiet, too quiet. But within minutes, that began to change. Laughter filled the space as we decorated a tiny tree someone had brought. The smell of food replaced the stale stillness. Voices overlapped, stories were shared, music played softly in the background. Life, where there had been none. Lily moved through it all like someone waking from a long sleep, her smile growing with every passing moment. At one point, she tugged on my sleeve. Santa? Yes. This is what I meant, she said, her voice full of wonder. This is Christmas. I felt something tighten in my throat. I'm glad, I managed. Later, as the day settled into a comfortable warmth, the door opened again. A woman stepped inside, her face tired, her eyes widening in shock at the scene before her. Lily? She said. Mom! Lily ran to her, throwing her arms around her. I didn't know if you'd be home, her mother said, clearly overwhelmed. We're having Christmas, Lily said simply. Her mother looked around, taking it all in, the people, the food, the laughter. Then her eyes landed on me. I stood suddenly aware of how strange this must look. I'm, Santa, I said, feeling ridiculous and sincere all at once. She stared for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed, a soft, disbelieving sound that carried something deeper beneath it. Thank you, she said quietly. Not just to me, to everyone. That night, as I finally returned home, exhausted and still in costume, I thought about all the wishes I'd heard over the years. Most were forgotten by the next season, but not this one. Because this wasn't about toys or presents or fleeting excitement. It was about something far simpler and far more important. No one should feel alone on Christmas. And sometimes, keeping that promise doesn't require magic. Just people willing to show up. Just people willing to care. Just people willing to listen when a quiet voice says, I don't want to be alone. And to answer not just with words, but with action. Santa had noted it. And this time, Santa delivered